Josh, what do you think a top is and what a bottom is in the gay community? Just take a guess.
A top is someone that's, I'm assuming, had the surgery.
No, you're off. You're way off. So in the gay community, there are certain gentlemen that like to.
Okay, now I get it. I'm good.
Okay,
I understand now.
got it. Okay, you understand what a top and a bottom is now. All right.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Reckoning Bros. I'm Josh in Ohio.
I'm Mark in Cincinnati.
You're not in Cincinnati.
I'm Mark in
Quit
Indiana.
lying. Why do you keep hiding yourself?
I'm Mark, and I'm in the same place Josh is.
Scott,
I'm Scott. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm not a liar.
All right. So this week we've been alternating topics. We did a little rant, let Mark go. So I got a couple of bullet points I want to cover with you guys, and just kind of explore some.
What's a bullet point?
Bullet.
Why are you making my editing life difficult, Mark?
Why are you editing that?
Does it audio? Sometimes I have to cut it. Never mind. Go on.
Talk
Sorry.
really loud like this. Is that what happens?
I'm leaving it in now. I'm leaving it in. So sorry, viewers. If we get any, you're gonna have to deal with that. Josh, please proceed.
Why do you have to deep throat my bottle of whiskey? Why can't you deep throat your bottle of whiskey?
It will disinfect itself with its own alcohol.
We talked briefly in the last episode about protests, about stuff that's happened recently. This particular episode, I wanted to get a little bit more evergreen, as Scott and I have talked in the past. So I'm going to get some broad topics. I got my handy dandy notebook, like I said, and we're just going to jump into it. Shut up.
Did you know that as a rule I don't drink? As a habit I do, but as a rule I don't.
I don't know why you're bringing it. Why?
You sound like I imagine Steve Allen sounds like, even though I've never seen Steve Allen ever. I imagine he would have made that joke. Am I wrong?
You're pretty close. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about the boundaries of free speech. Let's explore where personal liberty ends and societal harm begins. Scott, I'm leaving
interestingly
that up
phrased. Where
I'm
liberty ends
on the volleyball court. Yeah, I'm setting
you did indeed. You set that up. Liberty ends and societal harm begins.
Correct. And we can also talk about when civil disobedience becomes justified.
On the first point, I think you should begin with COVID, where civil liberty ends.
Oh, hey, we are on the 5-year anniversary as of like yesterday.
Yeah.
Of when the lockdowns began here, when tyranny ruled, and we all had to wear masks
outside
and be harassed if we didn't.
Yeah.
So
that was. I don't know if that's technically a free speech issue. My thing about free speech, okay, err on the side of free speech. That would be the first thing I would say. Err on the side of free speech, because there are gray areas there. You're going to run across those gray areas, right? Where it's when is it calling for harm when you're piling on somebody? Like doxing can cause harm, right? Is that free speech? I don't know.
Some people think so. Some people think swatting is free speech.
I don't think swatting is free speech. I actually don't think that doxing is free speech necessarily.
I don't think doxing is free speech either. And I'm not sure it's as complicated, maybe, Scott, as you believe it is. And as a free speech absolutism, I'll put it this way. I think, in my opinion, unless you're inciting violence or calling for assassinations or working with or on behalf of an organization or a movement that seeks to overthrow the government, etc., that all speech is protected speech. And I do agree with you that there are gray areas, but that's because people don't understand what they don't understand. That's because they get blurred. They get there's so much in the blogosphere and the internet sphere that people create their own gray areas, and they glom onto gray areas that people are presenting as free speech. A good example of that would be the kneeling protests, the football players, the Colin Kaepernick whole thing about kneeling at football games, right? Which people couched under free speech. But I'm not allowed to protest at work. Josh is not allowed to protest at work. I'm not allowed to walk. I'm not allowed to talk about rights for this or rights for that or social justice or anything while I'm on the clock on my employer's property using my employer's platform that's televised, that the employer has contracts with broadcasting companies, right? So
Josh has his hand raised. I'm sorry, Mark, but Josh has his hand raised.
I can tell you that I'm not allowed to protest at work,
neither am I.
but some people are.
You're talking about government free speech and being punished by your employer. Colin Kaepernick has a constitutional right to do what he wants to do by kneeling, but that doesn't mean the NFL or his team can't fire him or punish him in some way for doing that.
Correct.
These are two separate things. This is a law versus your employer. These are two
Right.
separate things. That's where these things get complicated. When it's things like Twitter, Twitter is a private organization, so they have the right to kick anybody off that they want. I think it's a gross instinct to kick someone off for for political reasons, which is what they used to do before Elon took over.
Unless it's inciting
But
violence.
they have the right to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do.
It just sucks, and it's a gross instinct, and you should feel gross.
What's your next bullet point, Josh?
Next bullet point: moral responsibilities of voting. How civic duties connect to ethical decision making. Scott, you're up.
Civic duties connect to ethical decision making. So should I feel a moral obligation to vote and participate in civic duties? I feel like I should, but I also feel like I am a failure at doing it because I don't really care about like local issues and stuff, even though I fully know that I should and I agree fully that I should do it. I don't because of my own weakness and shortcomings.
Is it
But
laziness,
I do
though?
agree. Yeah, it's laziness and it's abstraction, and it's like when you look at the local ballot, it's like, okay, here's the comptroller, da da da, and you're just like, it's the
Same
banality of evil.
Same Z's, virtual high five. Come on, same Z's. There you go.
What do you think, Mark?
I don't care.
How many presidential elections have you not voted in?
I voted in every single one. So
I don't think I've ever not voted in a presidential election.
You've always voted in presidential elections?
In most all of the midterms too. I probably missed a couple midterms.
What about the local school board stuff that's off the cuff or?
You know why I always vote against the school board shit?
No.
Fuck them kids. Fuck them. They get it. They're so pampered and babied already. Fuck them.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, can I say something first?
Yes, go.
We shit, I shouldn't say.
Say it.
Never mind.
Say
I
it
can't
and
say
edit
it.
it out.
No, keep going. Go.
Okay, so we talked about civic duties. Virtue and public service. Which character traits should we ask for in our representatives?
That they not be 80 years old.
Ooh, yes, agreed. 2 enthusiastic thumbs up to what Mark just said.
Oh, and by the way, the other thing I noticed in the last couple of days on this whole Mahmoud Khalil controversy, and
there he goes ruining the evergreen. But go ahead.
No, so some crazy people were chasing Bernie down, asking him what and the left hates Bernie now. They were chasing him down, asking him to condemn the kidnapping and of Mahmoud Khalil, and you know, and they've disappeared him. And the left went crazy. They hate Bernie. Bernie Sanders got called a Vermont Nazi, the Nazi from Vermont, in the last couple of days because some crazy, annoying activists with microphones chased him down on his way to someplace. And I am at a loss. I am at a loss to defend Bernie Sanders because he's a kooky old Marxist who's always had about a dozen and a half, you know, leftist catchphrases and taglines, and has made his, you know, rebranded his political career, which was, you know, a joke for 25 years in Washington, and everybody made fun of him, right?
True.
But when you're calling Bernie Sanders the Nazi from Vermont, you've lost your fucking mind.
Can we talk about why the usage of the word Nazi is so prevalent when you're trying to disparage the opposition?
Well, that's a very good
think it's-
question, Josh.
I think
Why-
it's kind of
why-
disrespectful to
If
Nazis.
you haven't, right?
If you
haven't
went back in
killed
time-
6 million Jews and started a world war, you shouldn't be allowed to be called a Nazi.
Just imagine this, all right? You have a time machine, you go back in time and you grab an actual Nazi. You get Himmler and you bring him forward to now. And you're like, hey, Himmler, they're calling him a Nazi, they're calling him a Nazi. Be like, no, they aren't Nazis at all, Ja. You have to kill many, many Jew to be Nazi. What is this? Bernie Sanders, he Jew. You have to kill Jew to be Nazi. What are these people saying? I hate the Jew. If you have disability, I think you should die. That's how Nazi do. These guys aren't Nazi. I think that's what Himmler would say in response to that. They just don't even know what a Nazi is.
Yeah, and I think and I think, and to answer your question, Josh, well, it's insane. It's madness. Like, people pay Elon Musk for their blue check mark, and they're on his platform, paying him money and calling him a Nazi. Now, why would any sane person pay somebody to have an account on their platform? Do you get the Daily Stormer delivered, or do you just subscribe to their website? Like, I'm sorry, I'm speaking.
A strong black woman is speaking, Josh. You need to listen.
He doesn't get the reference right away. Do you get the reference?
No, I feel like you're an idiot. But
That was Kamala Harris at the debate whenever anybody was like,
and it was also the Democratic National Convention last year. And
I'm speaking. No,
I totally lost my train of thought there.
No. I know. Well, that's, you know, alcohol will do that. So.
And we also wanted to start earlier before you guys got wasted drunk. So let's see. That's
too late.
That's true. Too late. No, why would any sane person have an account on a platform they truly believed was owned by a Nazi? Why would you do that?
Oh, that's where I was going to go with it.
Yeah.
Why would attention seeking. Calling someone a Nazi is attention seeking.
Correct. Unless I'm doing it, because I call the right people Nazis. When I'm not doing it,
have you ever done that? Have you ever called someone a Nazi?
Oh, I do. The Islamo Nazis. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
okay.
You're a fucking Nazi. Jackson Hinkle's a fucking Nazi. Nick Fuentes is a fucking Nazi. Oh yeah, fucking right wing Nazis and the fucking left wing Nazis. You goddamn right, I call them Nazis, but I don't do it. I'm very selective with who I call a Nazi. If you are screeching exterminationist chants that mean you want all the Jews to be dead, then you're a fucking Nazi. Now, you may be other things too. You might be a Marxist, you might be a communist, but ideologically, in that specific space, you're a fucking Nazi, right? But yes, it's way overused, right? And I just
90% incorrect.
And I have to reiterate this, and I'll probably do it every broadcast from here on out. If you're paying for a blue check on a platform that you truly believe is owned by a Nazi, you're a fucking lunatic or you're a fucking Nazi. If you're on a platform, if you have an account on a platform, because every account puts money in Elon Musk's pocket. The counter arguments I keep getting are, oh well, no, I don't. Well, yeah, I pay for the blue check, but Elon pays me. So you're profiting from a Nazi? That's better. Fuck out of here.
They could just be liars. They could just not. They could not have any ethical framework. Some people are just fucking liars, right? And they know exactly what they're doing. They just don't care.
Their fucking brain is smooth. smooth as chrome on a 38 Bugatti.
Okay, last one. Ethics of political loyalty.
That's a good one.
And Mark, you and I had a conversation right out here on this porch
Yeah,
several months ago.
Yeah.
About who we were going to vote for in the presidential election.
Oh, and you were ambivalent.
I did struggle, but let me tell you, let me ask this question: when should principle override party?
Always. I hate the fucking term rhino. I hate the fucking term rhino. Republican in name only. Everybody, every elected representative should vote in some kind of realistic combination between their own conscience and what their constituency wants. It should
Yes.
never be what the party wants ever. I fucking hate parties. Parties are. I understand the realistic reasons for a banding together against another group, and it gives you more power. I understand all that. That doesn't mean I have to like it. It's a necessary evil, but it's a fucking evil.
No,
Fuck
that's
parties.
that's very smart. And yes, um, I don't like the term either because it's the whole 80-20 thing or the 60-40 thing, right? Like, or even the half a loaf thing, right? Like if I agree with somebody most of the time, then there's obviously a lot of common ground there. So why would I want to use a term that or weaponize something against them to delegitimize or um, or to embarrass them by calling them a rhino? Senator Alan Simpson died a few days ago. He was 93 years old. He's a senator from Wyoming. He had a very good sense of humor. He was always quick with a pun and quick with a joke. He was a very, very nice man. And he was called a rhino because he was kind of a middle of the road Republican who got along with everybody. But, he didn't believe in big government. He also, but he wasn't, a hardcore, a hardcore conservative in the mold of Jesse Helms or, Rick Shelby, etc. Like those were, the hardcore conservative senators that he served with, right? Um, and he was a very nice man, and uh, a lot of people are guilty of doing the whole going online and going they were happy they were happy when Kissinger died. The left was happy when Kissinger died. The right was happy when Castro died. The whole that whole tribalism thing.
No, that bothers me.
What?
You're being happy when someone dies.
It really does.
I don't think the right actually is excited about that.
We get the right gets. Yeah, no, I don't. You're correct. We don't get excited.
They're holding up signs.
You're correct. I think we go, you know what? It's a good thing that Castro's dead. It's a good thing, that I think the right more often than the left does frames it in terms of, you know what? C'est la vie. Big fucking deal. He's dead. Don't give a fuck, right? I don't. In rare occasions we do celebrate the death of somebody like Soleimani, or when Israel killed Sinwar, and we were like, yeah, rest in pieces, motherfucker.
Saddam Hussein. Remember
Celebrating.
that? Find his ass in a fucking bunker.
Yeah.
And I'm trying
Didn't
to
he?
think
Didn't we hang him?
I think we
Well, I
did.
say
We found him in the-
Didn't he
You
get
were there.
hung?
I'm pretty sure you were there. I saw you in a picture. You were there and you were like this behind
I was
him.
I was working with Baghdad Bob. Remember Baghdad Bob?
I remember the phrase. I don't even remember.
Did you have one more thing?
that was it.
That was it?
That was all for tonight.
We didn't answer any of the questions on there, did we?
No, you didn't at all.
Because he talked about he did talk about public service, and maybe I'll close with saying this: if your public service actually contributes something, left or right, I think you should be commended. If your public service, if you're using your public service to stay in office forever and ever and ever, and you never get anything done, and your bills never get passed, and you're doing the whole, I like living in Washington, and I like going to the cocktail parties, and I like the way and I like having power. That kind of public service, I think we all frown on, and um, and yes, members of both parties do it. I think it's way more prolific on the left. I think there's way more examples of Nancy Pelosi's and Bernie Sanders, etc., than there are Chuck Grassley's. The Republicans do have Chuck Grassley, and I said this to a colleague the other day. Chuck Grassley is 91 years old. He's been in Congress since he's been in Congress since the mid 70s, right? I think he became a senator in 1976. He's third in line to the presidency. He's a perfectly nice man. He owns a farm. He still goes out and works his farm.
Is he Senate pro tem?
He's Senate pro tem. He's president of the Senate.
Why
Right?
does that keep happening, Mark? Not to drag this on, but I mean, you get the Dianne Feinsteins, you got fucking Joe Biden, just these just
I
ancient
know.
people that
At
won't
least
go
he's not
away.
Robert Byrd, who was a fucking Klan member. Like,
Strom Thurmond was 135 years old. Strom Thurmond was 135 years old when he was in office, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. He was
It's just like,
and at one point was third in line to become president. Like,
is name recognition that powerful when you're on a ballot? Like, are people just that automatic? They're just like, oh, Nancy Pelosi, 96. Sure, why not? I know she's not.
I used to be able to do a good imitation of Strom Thurmond when he was really, really old, and they would have
And the people that are listening to this are not going to know
who Strom Thurmond is, and it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, know what he sounds like.
We don't have any listeners yet, Josh, but we will in the future.
I'm talking about me and you. Neither one of us know what Strom Thurmond is. We're not that old. We're not that old.
But I think Scott here is a good man. He'll make, and he has good education. He'll make a good judge, and I think we ought to vote to confirm him.
Mr. Thurman, question. Mr. Thurman, question. How do you feel about interracial marriage?
I think it's okay if you do it outside. If you do it outside of marriage.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you. Stop talking.
Appreciate you.
We're done.
Don't put that in your mouth.